Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Shri Radha Krishna. And as we await our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intention for this space as being a welcoming, all-inclusive environment open to everyone, regardless of background, identity, orientation, ethnicity, belief system, you name it. I hope you find yourself comfortable here, welcomed and accepted. Hello, Kev. And hello, Tatvamasi. Thank you for blessing us very early on with a quintet of roses. Radhe, Radhe. Welcome, everyone. May we come together as fellow spiritual seekers to uplift each other, relate in one another's experiences, and share positive sentiments. And thank you, It's Lol Goggles, for your 30 roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Kev, for your quartet of fires. Jai Sita Ram. Edmo, you ask, do I know your friend Alfie Sloan? Well, not personally, but yes, he has been here before, many times. And I always enjoy their presence here. And hello, Kimmy. I trust that all of you who are joining now are feeling as well as you can, given whatever circumstances or feelings may be arising. Know that you are valid in whatever you are going through. Hello, Ragnhildur. Hello, Aquarius Lady. Good evening, the Oracle reads. And hello, Cornbread. It's Lol Goggles, you ask. Who are my favorite spiritual teachers? All of you. That's not the answer you were looking for, though. I look up to many such people, particularly yogis. I'm a big aspirant of yogis. Now, I have a question of the day for all of you. If you're interested, today, as with every day, I'd like to start my lives with a question and then a short reading. But my question for all of you is, how do you help with social anxiety, either with yourself or for others? I know that sometimes our individuality may get the best of us, and we struggle to find peace in all the possibilities that may occur when we're out and about with friends or strangers. Cornbread, you say music. That's a nice answer. Yeah, music can be very familiar, especially to each other as we relate in our own shared interests. And Kev, you share retirement. You don't have to do much socializing. Well, there are retirement parties and you get a lot more time to socialize, but now it's done in a different way. One that you're not forced to, at least. That makes sense to me. And thank you, Cornbread, for your cloud bread. Radhe, Radhe. Chris Fox, you ask, what should you do if you realize that you are God and this is unsettling? Remember that everyone is God. Therefore, nothing changes. Before, we thought that no one was God. Now we realize that everyone is God. So we should still engage in the world just the same, only our sentiment changes. Now everything we do comes from the spirit of divine service. And hello, Chad. Thank you for your confetti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Auntie. Gardening Gregor G, you share that you fight through it. That can be a powerful stance. I like it. Now, MWLA, you share that nothing helps you. And then you use a happy emoji. I'm getting mixed messages here. Or perhaps that capital N on nothing is not just to demark the start of a sentence, but a proper noun indeed. And that nothingness that's at the heart of philosophy and spirituality, that very nothing can be very comforting. DS Das, you ask, want to hang out sometime? Well, you are welcome to hang out in our Sangha together anytime. And thank you, Christopher, for your heart me a moment ago. Radhe, Radhe. Becca J, you share that you try and slow down and listen, because you hate when you get home and worry you said something stupid. That is one solution for not worrying about what you say, if you don't have to say anything. The Oracle reads, you shared that you remember that everyone is also dealing with their stuff and we all just want to feel loved. That is a very grounding and universal idea. And Chris Fox, you shared the idea to smile. So simple. And Gimme, you shared that you tend to be more of an observer. That can feel very relieving to just kind of watch rather than feel so much pressure to be a participant in every conversation or every event. You're welcome to just be more of a passionate observer. I like that. And hello, Loopy Lane. And thank you, Dagger, for your rose a minute ago. Jai Sitaram. And Keys, thank you for your finger heart. Radhe, Radhe. And hello, Emily. You ask, how am I today? I am doing well, thank you. I spent a lot of it on my computer, programming away. I got a little lost. I lost track of time a little bit. And hello, Jennifer. And thank you for your rose a few moments ago, too. Hari Om Tat Sat. And on to you, share emotional intelligence. Go back and figure out when the first time it was that you were told big crowds were scary. I like that. Kind of introspection into what started this belief. Questioning the fear, being curious about it. And hello, Simone. MJ, you share that you are gone for a few days and so glad to see me and be here. Well, I am very happy that you are here. And it's Lol Goggles, you share that non-grasping helps. Indubitably. Dean Dude, you ask, do I like Pantera? I am unfamiliar with this. Someone tell me. What is Pantera? I know that in Terraria, a video game, there is a boss known as Plantera. That's where my mind went, at least. And John F., thank you for your tiny. Yippee! A friendship necklace, a donut, and another pair of tiny dinies. Yahoo! And thank you, Jos, for your 16 roses. Radhe, Radhe. User 113, you ask, am I able to interpret dreams? Hey, I hardly know the meaning of my own dreams. How could I project my own personal experience to something so deeply, intimately yours? Your own subconscious. Pantera is a band. Gotcha. Thank you for telling me, everyone. Dagger, you share that thinking less about yourself helps a lot. Absolutely. We're always attaching our thoughts to me, myself, and I, and mine. How are they perceiving me? Am I doing something right? Should I have said that? So many I thoughts. And Anna, you share by telling them that you're shy. That's a really good answer, actually. Just get it out there. You know, if you're worried about being perceived, you could say that. You're always welcome to admit to how you're feeling. Emily, you share that you deal with it by spreading smiles, by being very silly. I like that. Don't take yourself so seriously. And thank you, Auntie, for your pair of tiny dinies. A finger heart. Yippee! A paper crane. A rose. A rosa. A fire. And another tiny diny. Yahoo! And thank you, Ursula, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. Miss Mariah, you share. Think of how much you actually pay attention to people while you're out. And it's the same for them. Very true. Oftentimes, when we are just concerned about how we might be perceived, everyone else is too. Jack, you ask, how do you maintain eye contact? You don't have to. I don't know, is it written somewhere in the human rule book that you must always maintain eye contact? I find the best conversations are done when our eyes are not necessarily looking at each other, but looking at something in our shared experience. Like we could be both sitting on the same bench, watching the boats go by on the lakeside, and we're deeply engaged in a conversation. And thank you, Vladimir, for your rose and finger heart. Hari Om Tat Sat. Miss Mariah, you share that your son just got graded for eye contact. You think it's dumb. Where do you get graded for eye contact? That's interesting. I've never heard of that before. Now, thank you, everyone, for attending to my question of the day together. I very much love all your insights. Even though we might all be older, emotionally mature now, we still find ways in which we can sometimes not feel accepted by our own expectations and standards. So I think it is important to reflect on how we can feel more free to be ourselves in social situations. I'm going to minimize the question of the day for now. Thank you, everyone. And before we continue with our regular format of our Sangha, which generally evolves into shared experiences and questions and answers on all things spiritual, let us read from another section of Roar the Ganges. This book is written by Swami Tadatmananda, and it takes place through his eyes. Much of the book was a kind of preparation into becoming a Swami, and now a few chapters ago he was initiated into Hindu monkhood. We take a stroll down memory lane and experience this worldly renunciation through his fresh eyes. This chapter is called Worship of the Formless, and I gather that this chapter is about how it is even possible for us to worship the source of the universe when that source clearly has no form in particular. If you consider that ultimate nothingness from which this everythingness arose, it's very impersonal, but we are personal people. We are people. So how do we remedy this difference between our finite being and that infinite being? What is our personal relationship to them? Friday, March 24th. At exactly 5 a.m, I struggled to rise from sleep's dark depths to grope for my travel clock and silence his obstinate beeping. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, grabbed a plastic bucket from the bathroom, and thrust myself outside into the chilly morning air to fetch hot water for bathing. At this early hour, the stars still shone brightly in the black expanse above. Even earlier in the morning, ashram workers had stoked a wood fire under the water tank behind the dining hall. There, I filled my bucket with steaming water and hurried back into my room. I had risen earlier than usual to attend the morning puja, worship. I dressed quickly in my still unfamiliar saffron robes and went to the dining hall for a cup of tea. By 5:30 in the morning, I was sitting with other ashram residents in the covered terrace facing the temple. Its sacred chamber was illumined by oil lamps suspended on chains. Their warm orange glow revealed the deity within, a Linga, a large black stone, rounded and oblong, set in a granite pedestal. The pujari, temple priest, stood alone in the small chamber finishing his preparations. A linga is a form in which Ishvara, God, is worshipped as Lord Shiva, the god of destruction and change. Its rounded, featureless shape symbolically represents God's formlessness. Linga literally means a sign, a mark that indicates something, often indicating gender. The relatively formless linga indicates the presence of the completely formless Ishvara. Standing behind the linga, on a taller pedestal, was a black granite icon of Lord Gangadhara, Dhureshvara, a representation of Lord Shiva bearing the force of the river Ganges as it descended from the heavens. According to a traditional legend, King Bhagirath spent many years in prayer and penance to bring the purifying waters of the Ganges down from the heavens. But when his prayers finally became fruitful, the Ganges descended with such force that the earth would have been shattered by its impact. So, King Bhagirath, not sure why that name is so hard for me. So King Bhagirath prayed once again, this time imploring Lord Shiva to protect the world. Lord Shiva broke the river's terrible force by receiving its flow onto his matted locks of hair. Lord Gangadhareshvara's form was intricately carved to display a variety of esoteric symbols. His head was crowned by a mass of matted hair into which the river is said to have flowed. His hands were positioned in symbolic, expressive gestures called mudras. His left palm was turned outward, bestowing blessings upon all devotees. His right hand was raised in assurance that there is nothing to fear. To the left, a small icon of Lord Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, carved from white marble, stood on a low platform. Each of the deities faced east in accordance with ancient texts that define almost every detail of temple construction. These deities had been the focus of twice daily worship since the temple was consecrated 20 years ago. Every ritual employs symbolism and is built around a central metaphor. For example, the Jewish Seder, not sure how that's pronounced, S-E-D-E-R, Seder, and Catholic Mass are essentially ritual meals. Worshippers gather together to break bread, not to satisfy their stomachs, but for the sake of spiritual nourishment. Hindu puja is based on a different metaphor, inviting a respected and beloved guest into one's home and honoring them. Such a visitor would be given a seat of honor, provided with a bath, fresh clothes, and so on. Puja follows this very theme. First, Ishvara is invoked in the deity's form and then worshipped by offering various gifts, services, and tributes. Just as a sumptuous meal would be given to a special guest, puja includes offering food. Good morning, Steve. Such worship seems to be an expression of mankind's archetypal need for ritual. People have always created ceremonies to celebrate both the mundane and the sacred. Some observances marked the changing seasons or implored God's grace for abundant crops or healthy progeny. Others were rites of passage marking important events in a person's life, like puberty or marriage. These rituals all combine elements of symbolism, aesthetic beauty, and communal participation. The first time I attended puja, the ceremony seemed strange, but as it became more familiar, and as I began to understand its symbolism, my participation became heartfelt and rewarding. It grew on me slowly, like love for classical music. Understanding and familiarity help foster love for classical music and for puja as well. Its attraction was strong enough to drag me out of bed at 5 o'clock, not my favorite time to rise. The entire liturgy of the Puja was in Sanskrit, mostly hymns and mantras from the Vedas. Some parts were chanted in unison, and other parts in a call and response style led by the pujari. He performed ceremonial bathing of the deity, slowly pouring a stream of water over the linga from a brass pot, while we chanted Vedic hymns to Lord Shiva. He filled the pot again and again from a large bucket of water drawn earlier from the Ganges, and continued the ritual bathing until the hymns were complete. Then he drew a curtain across the doorway, veiling the inner chamber while he prepared for the next part of the puja. We chanted other hymns until the pujari opened the curtains to reveal the linga, now anointed with sandalwood paste and meticulously decorated with flowers. Red and yellow roses, scarlet hibiscus, tiny white jasmine, and garlands of orange marigolds, all plucked from the ashram's gardens. I then understood that Mataji's loving dedication to tending the gardens was not simply to beautify the ashram grounds. The flowers she cultivated were offered in the temple twice each day, 7 days a week. Tending the gardens was an act of devotion for her. We then chanted a litany of 108 names of Lord Shiva. As we chanted each name, the pujari rained a handful of flower petals upon the linga. Om Namah Shivaya. Salutations unto Shiva. Om Maheshvaraya Namaha. Salutations to the Great Lord. Om Shambhave Namaha. Salutations unto the giver of peace. Some names were called mythological events in which Lord Shiva reigned glorious and triumphant. Other names referred to Ishvara as the creator, sustainer, or destroyer of the universe. Others related to Ishvara's immediate presence as the very fabric of existence. At the conclusion of the litany, worshippers began to make a tremendous rhythmic clamor. Gongs clanged, bells rang, drums beat staccato, and conch shells trumpeted wildly. This joyous noise announced the final offerings of incense, lights, and food. The sacred din stopped suddenly when the pujari set flame to a piece of camphor in a brass holder and waved it before the linga. The camphor flame symbolizes knowledge. As light destroys darkness, knowledge destroys ignorance. In many temples, the inner chamber is so dark that the deity within cannot clearly be seen until the priest lights the camphor and reveals its form. By analogy, just as the camphor flame reveals Ishvara's form in the temple, the flame of knowledge reveals Ishvara's presence pervading the world. Good evening, Jai. The camphor burned brightly while we chanted a hymn praising Ishvara as the consciousness that pervades the universe and illumines all that exists. This hymn ironically notes the futility of any attempt to reveal the Lord's limitless form with a mere lamp of burning camphor. God cannot be illumined by the sun, moon, or stars, nor even by lightning. What to speak of this flame? God alone shines, all else reflects its light, and by its light the universe is made manifest. The pujari then brought the still burning camphor into our midst. Each of us touched our fingers first to the flames and then to our eyes, symbolically inviting the flame of knowledge to enter our minds and illumine our hearts, so that we might know Ishvara's sacred presence in the world and in our own hearts. After the last of the hymns were chanted, the priest distributed bananas and raisins, which had been offered earlier. After food is offered in puja, it belongs to Ishvara, and since that food remains at the end of the ritual, it is considered a gift from Ishvara, called prasada. Whatever is distributed at the conclusion of puja, be it flowers, fruits, sweets, or even rice, it is received by the devout as prasada, as a blessing from Ishvara. Good night, Mariham. In some large temples, vast quantities of rice are offered and then distributed afterwards to needy people. The pujari also passed around a brass bowl filled with sacred ash called vibhuti, which we all duly applied to our foreheads. This ash is a religious symbol associated with Lord Shiva. Ashes represent his power of destruction. Instead of being frightening, Lord Shiva's capacity for destruction is considered beneficial, because it is one's ignorance and delusion that are to be destroyed. To apply vibhuti to one's forehead is a symbolic prayer for the destruction of ignorance. Vibhuti is prepared by Vedic priests in a special ritual in which cow dung patties are burned until all that remains is pure ash. Swami Dayananda once told a hilarious story about arriving at New York's JFK airport, having traveled from Bombay. A customs officer inspecting his suitcase found a container of gray ash. Suspecting it to be illicit drugs, he opened the container and sniffed it cautiously. "What is this?" he asked with an intimidating tone. "Ashes," Swami Dayananda began to reply. The suspicious inspector immediately put his index finger into the ash. As he touched it to his tongue to analyze the powder, Swami Dayananda finished his incomplete reply. "Ashes, made from cow dung." The officer sputtered vigorously and turned pale. Okay, we'll pause our reading there for now. Thank you all for listening. Even though that Ishvara is by itself formless, through the use of metaphor, we can come to many forms through which worship is done. We'll continue reading this at a later time. And hello, Mahina. What page? Says Sky Guardian. We will be reading 302 next. We just finished 301. Hello, Billy. I'm glad you liked it, Vistiel. And thank you to those who sent a gift whilst I read. I would like to extend my gratitude back to you now that I have a moment. John F., thank you for your heart me and 19 bracelets earlier. Hariom Tat Sat. And Andrea, thank you for your rose. Radhe Radhe. And Natalia, thank you for your rose as well. Jai Sita Ram. Hello, Chloe Evans. Echo Leaf, you ask, Yam, is that your socks on your microphone? Yes. They are my Yamsox. And everybody loves Raven. Thank you so much for your applause as well, as I read. Jai Sitaram. Chloe Evans, you share that you sometimes chant Om when you meditate. I love to hear that. How do you like chanting Om? Do you feel like it aids in getting absorbed into a meditative state? And Mihina, thank you for your rose. Radhe Radhe. It makes you feel calm. I'm happy to hear that. And Tan Hao Yu, thank you for your heart me. Jai Sitaram. And Vistial, thank you for your trio of roses. And Octet of Fires. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Chloe, you share that you just got done doing it and your body feels relaxed. How lovely is that? Good, good. Mariam, you share that I give you peace. Nonsense. I provide this space in which you yourself become peaceful. You are doing all the work. I could never take credit for that. But I'm very grateful that you choose this place to find peacefulness in. That is a blessing that you give me. And Danger Dandelion, thank you for your rose too. Radhe Radhe. And Keys, thank you for your finger heart. Jai Sitaram. Eagle Horse, you ask, does my third eye vision ever scare me? The metaphor of the third eye can certainly be alarming, especially if we feel like we are nothing but just a witness of life. However, being a witness doesn't come with any expectations. We may expect ourselves that the more we become aware, the more we have to think about, the more we have to label and categorize. But that's residual of an old way of thinking. People live small, simple lives so that they can manage every moving piece and everything fits into nice, easy boxes. But on the spiritual journey, where you open up to a much bigger kind of life, then that old way of thinking that you have to manage every piece and categorize it suddenly becomes obsolete, and we get overwhelmed by all of this labeling and judging and analyzing. So people sometimes retreat again and close off to make their life nice and small so they don't have to get overwhelmed. But the solution, rather, is not to close up again, but to drop that mode of thinking where we try to manage everything, analyze everything, label it all, just being choicelessly aware, unconditionally conscious, being without judgment to the objects of our experience. And Angela, thank you for your rose a minute ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Katie, thank you for your heart me. Jai Sitaram. Claudia Sell, you share that the more enlightened you become, the more you want to stay alone. I understand that. And That is why Arjuna asked Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. He said, "Oh Lord, should I not just become a renunciate? Should I escape this world and go and sit in the jungle and just meditate without anyone bothering me? Or can I remain spiritual whilst engaged with my duties and the people in my life? Which of these is superior? Please, settle this contradiction of mine." And Krishna says very promptly, "You can do either. But the path of worldly life, but inwardly remaining spiritual, is the far superior path. Mere renunciation of the world will not bring you peace. You can be away from everyone that triggers you, but still be thinking about how much they triggered you, and we're still unpeaceful. Better yet is for ourselves to renounce our inward grudges and expectations towards everyone and everything. Then we can be in the middle of a crowd. We can be filled with a room of people of very different varieties, and still we are peaceful within. And you also have spiritual insurance. The spiritual insurance policy is that if ever you find that the spiritual path is not for you, well, you still have a job and all of your friends and relationships. Plus, you are being a role model for those who aren't spiritual by showing them that it's possible to not change anything that they're doing, but inwardly change their perspective. And that is all it takes to be successful on the spiritual path. And that's all discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, especially chapter 3 and 5 on karma yoga and renunciation, true renunciation. And thank you, Katie, for another team bracelet too. Radhe Radhe. Mahina, you ask? Yeah. What does one do when a loved one wants to give up on life and is very sick, won't go to a doctor? Well, are they your child? If so, you take that child back to the doctor. If they depend on you, then it's your responsibility to get them to the help they need. But if they can take care of themselves without you, then that's their choice. They have decided that their independence is more valuable than getting help. Therefore, we must respect that choice, even if we are burdened by it. But we are burdened by it because we expect them to fulfill their potential. We see how much room there is for healing, for growth, but yet we can never force our hand in that at the same time. Just because we see that potential in them doesn't mean that they are ready to admit that. So you can only offer to the extent that they will accept. And you can hold space for them whenever they decide. And if that time doesn't come, then you have already fulfilled your duty simply by offering. Your duty isn't fulfilled when people accept your offer. The offer alone is to fulfill your dharma. You go hoarse, you ask. How do I ground when the waves are my focus in a room? Well, if you're surrounded by waves, then to get to ground, you must swim to shore. Swim from the ocean of negativity to the island of positivity. And within that positivity, you will find stability. Chloe Evans, you ask, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Well, instead of answering this question directly, why don't we take it one more step and ask, what is the meaning of this question itself? Of course, clapping requires two hands, unless you consider this. But we don't mean that kind of clapping. What is the sound of bringing one instrument in contact with another when the other is absent? Here we have one necessary cause for creation, but it is not sufficient alone. Both hands are necessary, but each one by themselves are not sufficient. So we are philosophizing over the result of a necessary but insufficient cause. What is the necessary but insufficient cause of the universe? Don't think too hard about it. And Zoe, thank you for your rose as well. Radhe, Radhe. And Up Darker, thank you for your heart meet. Jai Sitaram. Melissa Miel, you ask, what should we do when it feels like we are only surviving our life and not living it? That's a wonderful question. And it conveys such a rich experience. We're wondering, when does it get good? Right now it seems like we're just trying to get by every day. But when will we be finally free to do what we want, you know? And that's a very universal feeling. If you're asking, when will you be free from adversity? Then the answer is never. But I don't want that answer to scare you. Because there is a way out, but it's not in the way that you think. It requires not a change in environment, but a change in perception. See, right now, we're looking at our environment as the cause for upset, cause for stagnation, the cause for pain. But that's something we have decided for it. Instead of seeing the environment as something that is compressing you, restricting you, consider it a source of energy for your growth. What do I mean by that? Well, the harder of circumstance that we go through, the more inspired our soul becomes to transcend it. In each problem that we solve, we get wiser. With each weight that we carry, we get stronger. With each feeling that we become humbled by, we become more understanding. With each test of our expectations, we become more patient. So, actually, you are growing right now. You are getting smarter. You are doing all the things that you really want to do as an individual. Without the adversity in life, we would not be growing. Hence, the challenges are secretly opportunities that the universe is giving us. And this is a very conscious process. The universe is not going to give you anything that's going to break you. It knows your limits and is trying to push them. With this in mind, just getting through the day to day is the most freeing challenge that you can wake up to. Because that's all I do too. When I wake up, I'm not thinking, how is this day going to lead into the next? And how is this week going to lead into my month and my ambitions in the future? I have no ambitions save for coming to understand the challenge that exists in this moment, whatever it may be. If, for example, my toilet isn't flushing, that's my challenge for this moment. The universe has given me this challenge so that I may exercise my ingenuity, my intelligence, my patience. When the universe gives me someone who's angry, then I get to exercise my patience, my compassion, my understanding. The universe is giving me a reason to express my virtues. And therefore, I grow. I expand. This present moment is given purpose, meaning. And Liz, thank you for your heartbeat. Radhe, Radhe. And Fen, you share that seeing negative things as an opportunity for growth has been so eye-opening. I'm with you there. Suddenly, it's like my mind is blown, my heart opens, and I say, I'm sorry, universe. This whole time I thought you were punishing me with everything I've had to go through in this life. But now I realize that you have been gifting me all of these openings to give me such wonderful experience. I should really be saying thank you, universe. Lexus, you ask, should you make every choice with the highest of your excitement? Or maybe that wasn't a typo and you mean with the highest or your excitement? Find excitement not in choosing between what is right and what is wrong, but in your determination to make the choice right. It matters not what you choose in this life. It matters how you stick to it or admit when you're wrong. And that journey alone is exciting. Either you make a choice and it becomes right, or you made a mistake and you learn from that. It's a win-win with every choice that you make. Either it goes well or you learn something. I'll tell you a big secret. With the right perspective, there exists only positivity. There is no such thing as negativity under a certain perspective. Shaban, thank you for your finger heart a moment ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. Elsound Elvis, you ask, what about war? That's an opportunity for us to help others who are hurt. An opportunity to stand up for what is right. An opportunity to share vulnerability. Those are all positive things. But there is suffering, indeed. Suffering exists so that we may attend to it. And the attending is something that we need to do so that we feel involved with this wonderful universe, so that we can bring out the potential. And all of that is positive. And Melissa, thank you for your friendship necklace a moment ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. And J-Mail, thank you for your rose. And thank you, Eagle Horse, for your friendship necklace. Radhe, Radhe. Mr. Mate, you ask, how does one cultivate this blissful, positive perception? By the law of incremental growth. There is no answer I can give you in which suddenly it makes sense. You have to apply what I say, maybe once, every time you remember, and over many days, your mind becomes 0.1% more positive. You can't become 100% positive. That's impossible. In fact, even trying to become 50% more positive is also not going to happen unless you experience something really transformative. So we have to be reasonable with our expectations. Tomorrow, I am going to be 0.1% more positive. We have 1,000 thoughts every hour. I'm just going to challenge one thought of those 1,000. Whenever something negative arises, let me challenge that and try to see the silver lining. And by the end of the year, those 0.1 percentages, they add up really quickly. They start compounding. And before long, you will have transcended your own mind's negativity bias. And I agree, Mob. 1,000 every hour? Well, more like 1,000 every second if you're anxious. Very true. And Aquarius lady, thank you for your rose a few minutes ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. Corina, you share that you love that I'm like the TikTok Yoda. Well, at least I don't talk like him, hey? Sometimes I do. Anna, you ask, would we be more positive if we were unaware of our mortality? I would say that the more we become aware of our mortality, the more positive we become. It's when we're trying to ignore the fact that this life is precious, then we get ourselves into trouble. Consider, for example, a story about my dad and his father. When my father was only a teenager, his father suddenly died due to a brain aneurysm. Now, this by itself was a tragedy, but the biggest heartbreak for my father was that they didn't end on good terms. The last time they had spoken, they had gotten into an argument or something. Could you imagine? The last thing you say to your father was, "I hate you," or something. And then, that's it. Why did this happen? Because there was that assumption there that eventually this argument will get remedied. Maybe not now, but in the future. There was no awareness that mortality is always a possibility. If you were constantly aware of this, you would end every conversation with "I love you," wouldn't you? You would never leave until everything has been resolved with that person. And you'd show everyone love. And with yourself too. Maybe there are things that you would like to say to someone, but you are waiting. What if you die and you never get the chance to tell that person what you wanted to tell them? Keeping our mortality in mind, although can be scary, actually contributes to our ability to have meaningful and healthy relationships, because we become aware of the fragility and preciousness of life. and there becomes no expectations of resolutions existing in the future. We know that action must take place now. Our resolutions have to be immediate. Then you say, stop making you all cry. You are allowed to cry. In my opinion, crying is beautiful. But if I am the cause of this crying, then, I suppose I should take accountability. In any way I can remedy your tears, do let me know. But know that they are a valid expression of your feelings. And Shaban, thank you for your heart me a moment ago as well. Hari Om Tat Sat. Anna, you ask, we would be happier if we were aware of our time of death then? No. We become happiest when we realize that death can strike at any hour, that our time of death is not fixed, nor guaranteed. But I hear you. You listen to that and then you think, that just makes me anxious. But the cause of the anxiety is not this fact. Something else must have to happen, which is that we understand that life itself is such a blessing. It is so important for us to live that we should live without this fear. What is the fear of death if not an expression of how badly you want to live? So live. That fear only takes away. But you ought not to grieve for your own death when your soul is immortal. And thank you, MJ, for your hand hearts. Hari Om Tat Sat. And this guy, thank you for your 40 roses. Jai Sitaram. It is not us that dies. It is the body, and with it, all of our associations. There are many things that we will still be able to do in the next life. But in this life, we have a duty to attend to our personal associations. And thank you, Tin Man, for your 6 roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Echo, you ask in Sanskrit, what is the word for soul? Atma. And what is one of the principles of Buddhism? Anatma. No self. However, my interpretation of anatma may be a little different from yours. Whereas atma may be translated to self, you could consider anatma to represent So it is not necessarily the case that the Buddha rejects the idea of having a self. It's about the acceptance of bringing other people to the forefront of your consciousness rather than your own self. Such is why the Bodhisattva path is to serve all other sentient beings. What is this word being if there doesn't exist a self? A being is a synonym for self, isn't it? Where there is a being, there is a self. Thank you, Bana. Thank you for your trio of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Anna, you ask, why is our body limited? And then your second sentence is, something is consuming us right now. I'm not sure how these sentences are linked in meaning, but let's attend to the first part of the sentence. Why is our body limited? It is limited because the world is limited. And we can't have an infinite being directly interfacing with a finite world. We have to put on some material clothes in order to engage in this material world. Our body is our vehicle for service, for the soul to express itself. Expression requires limitation, which is a funny thing to think about. See, if you want to wear the color red, then you're inherently limiting yourself from all other colors besides red. Do you see how we do that? If today I want to wear blue clothes, then that means I'm limiting myself from all other clothes. But it's not about the limitation. It's about the expression of one dimension of life at a time. That way we get to experience everything not simultaneously but sequentially. Today I work on this, tomorrow I do that, the next in another way. Limitations aren't there to restrict us, but so that we may express ourselves in different ways. And thank you, MJ, for your 6 roses. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I like that, Kev. Getting to know yourself is so important in expression. I like that. And just as we express ourselves one way at a time, we begin to know ourselves one aspect at a time. Anthony, you have a quick question. Do I believe in the energy of colors? Well, physically, all colors are different excitations based on different frequencies of light, and the energy of a particle of light is related to its frequency. I believe the energy is equal to Planck's constant times its frequency, and the frequency determines the color. Now, I see, Sky Guardian, you recommend that we read from another section of the Vachanamrut. Let us do so. We'll take a quick intermission. This text The Vachanamrut is a collection of about 300 discourses by a great being known as Swami Narayan. In this book, he is addressed most commonly as Sriji Maharaj, as a term of endearment. It has many Sanskrit terms often scattered throughout it, and if I am not mistaken, this is a translation from Gujarati. That's a tough word for me to say for some reason. Gujarati in Indian language. So there are many Indian words throughout. Today we are reading Gadhada 1:27. The understanding by which God eternally resides within one. An interlude. Thank you. That is more correct. Before sunrise, on Posh, Sudhit the 12th, Samvat 1876, or the 28th of December, 1819, Sriji Maharaj, Swami Narayan, arrived at the residential hall of the Paramahansas, great saints, in Dada Khachar's Darbar in Gadhada. There, he sat on a platform facing west. He had tied a white phaeton around his head. He had also covered himself with a thick white cotton cloth and was wearing a case. At that time, an assembly of Paramahansas had gathered before him. After a few minutes of contemplation, Sriji Maharaj said, "Everyone wishes to worship God, but their understanding differs. But God fully resides in the heart of a person who possesses the following understanding. The earth remains stable and trembles. The stars remain steady in the sky. The rains fall. The sun rises and sets. The moon appears and disappears, waxes and wanes. The vast oceans remain constrained within their boundaries. A drop of liquid develops into a human possessing hands, feet, a nose, ears, and the rest of the 10 indriyas, our organs of perception and locomotion. The clouds, through which lightning strikes, float unsupported in the sky. These and a countless variety of other wonders are due only to the form of God that I have attained. With this understanding, he has the conviction, or one has the conviction, that no one except the incarnate form of God is the cause of these wonders. They realize the countless wonders which have occurred in the past, those which are currently taking place, and those which will occur in the future, are all only due to the manifest form of God that I have attained. Moreover, one also has the following understanding. Even if someone were to throw dust on me, or were to humiliate me in any way, or were to seat me on a donkey after cutting off my nose and ears, or even if someone were to honor me by seating me on an elephant, all these situations would be equal for me. Such a devotee views a beautiful young person, an unattractive person, and an old person with equality. They treat a heap of gold and a pile of stones with equality. they also possess countless noble virtues such as jnana, knowledge, bhakti, devotion, vairagya, dispassion for the world, etc. God eternally resides in the heart of such a devotee. Consequently, by the grace of God, that devotee attains countless types of powers and liberates countless beings. Despite these powers, though, they tolerate the praises and insults of other people. This itself is also a great feat, because to tolerate, despite being so powerful, is not easy for others to achieve. Therefore, one who tolerates in this manner should be considered to be extremely great. The powers of such a person are such that since it is God who sees through their eyes, they empower the eyes of all the beings in the Brahmananda, the universe. And since it is God who walks through their legs, they are also capable of endowing the strength to walk through all the legs of all the beings in the Brahmananda. Thus, since it is God who resides in all of the Indriyas, sense organs, of such a saint, that saint is able to empower the Indriyas of all beings in the Brahmananda. Therefore, such a saint is the sustainer of the world. Their glory lies in the fact that they tolerate the insults delivered even by insignificant people. Only those who are forgiving in this manner should be considered to be extremely great. On the other hand, those who threaten and frighten those meeker than themselves, and believe, "I have become great," are not truly great. In fact, those people in the world who frighten others by showing yogic powers should not be considered to be devotees of God. Rather, they are beings lost in Maya, the illusory materialism of existence, and suitable only for Yamapuri, the god of death. Their greatness is limited to the worldly realm. For example, in a society, a person with one horse is considered to be greater than someone with no horses at all, whereas a person with 5 horses is considered to be greater than someone with only 1 horse. In this way, the wealthier a person is, the greater they are considered to be in society. However, such a person is not great in the spiritual realm. Continuing, Sriji Maharaj said, "Householders and renunciants who believe, 'This person is very beautiful, these clothes are extremely fashionable, this house is very nice, this gourd is very nice, and this utensil is very nice,' are all petty-minded. Then you may ask whether such people will attain liberation or not. Well, in this satsang fellowship, gathering of spiritual seekers, even the wretched attain liberation. However, the former persons never develop the virtues of a sadhu, or the noble virtues of a sant, a saint, previously described. Why? Because they have not become suitable for such nobility." After delivering this discourse, Sriji Maharaj bid Jai Satchitananda, victory, salutations to existence, consciousness, bliss, and to all, and returned to their residence, his residence in Dada Kachar's Darbar. And this is a wonderful chapter on the Vachanamrut, or Gadhada, I should say. I thank you all for listening with me as we read through the understanding by which God eternally resides within one. So thank you for listening. A wonderful reminder to be humble and recognize that we must view everyone and everything as equal. We must see praise and insult as the same, beauty and ugliness as the same, youth, old age as the same, pleasurable and painful experiences as the same. And Sarah Lynn, thank you for your heart me. And Tiny Diny. Yippee! And thank you, Meh, it's Pidge, for your pair of roses and heart me's. Radhe, Radhe, and Keys, thank you for your finger heart. Jai Sita Ram. Maggie, you ask, how did I get that space in the back? I know, right? See, I was trying to buy a green screen, but I thought that I'd get one from Wish.com. And then the nice thing about a green screen is that you can put any effect on it. But serves me right for getting one from Wish.com because this one had the effect built into it. Yeah, it's just a tapestry with the effect built right into it. And Ragnhildur, thank you for your trio of roses. And thank you, MJ, for your quintet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Stones on Fire, you ask, how do you guard what you see and hear? That which we see and hear is not for us to guard, since our only possession is the opportunity for service. We have come into this world with nothing of our own, and we will leave it just the same. Therefore, everything we've accumulated in between birth and death is not truly ours. Even this body is actually an investment that Mother Earth has given us to do good through. She is banking on a positive ROI. We have to return it to her with profit. What profit can we give her? Well, simply put, to leave the world in a better place than we found it. The only thing we have to guard, therefore, is not that which we can see and hear, but from which we are doing the seeing and hearing. We guard the possibility for service itself, both within us and other people. We guard the potential that exists within everyone, and let not any limitations cover it. So we strive to maximize the potential within everyone. That is our true service. And thank you, Charlene Stardust, for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Zeda, my favorite Greek letter. Thank you for the let 'em cook and a cap. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Starlight Wow, for your pair of fires. Jai Sita Ram. Starlight Wow, you ask, how does karma work in the Kali Yuga? For example, stealing from Walmart, isn't that bad? Karma works the same in all yugas. The principle of karma is very simple. In each action that we do, we have an intention. That intention might be correlated with an expectation. When that expectation becomes unfulfilled, then we feel like we are being punished. Because we went into this action with the intention of some expectation. And in absence of that standard being met, we feel like we are being punished. We call that bad karma. On the other hand, when we go into an action with an intention of an expectation, and that expectation gets succeeded, then we feel like we are being rewarded because our standards are being met. We call that good karma. "5,160 years ago in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna, in the 3rd chapter on Karma Yoga, described this definition of karma. That karma has nothing to do with the action in particular, and everything to do with your intention and your expectation. To be free from karma means to be free from your own expectations going into the action. To truly be free from karma simply means that we intend to do the action regardless of the outcome. There is no expectation. Now, that's all theoretical terms. What's an example of this? Consider a student. They identify themselves as being a student. I am a student. And whatever we identify as, we vow to be a good version of. A student thinks, I want to become a good student. Now suppose that student studies. That is the job of a student, to study. That is where we get the term student, the one who studies. Suppose that student has the intention, I am going to study so that I may get good grades. Suddenly, they've binded themselves to karma. Now they've created the bondage of karma. How? Because they expect some outcome from their action. They're studying to get good grades. Then, when it's time for their test to be graded, that expectation may or may not be fulfilled. They could get a bad grade, even if they did their best studying. And they could get a good grade, even if they didn't study that well. When they get a good grade, they think, oh boy, good karma. When they get a bad grade, they think, oh, terrible, bad karma. The truth is, they were the ones who set that expectation. The karma was in their hands, but the outcome was out of their hands. Therefore, to truly be a good student, one that is free from karma, simply means that you study for the sake of studying, because that is what it means to be a good student, to apply your best effort, regardless of the outcome of your studies. That you study with the intention that you are dedicating this time to fulfill your dharma, your responsibilities as a student, and that itself is enough to be satisfied, rather than betting on a positive outcome, then you become a slave to karma, to your own actions, based on the expectations of outcome that we set ourselves up for. And thank you, Ginseng, for your dozen roses. Radhe, Radhe. And Ursula, thank you for your cheer you up. Jai Sitaram. And Ursula, I saw you purchased a subscription also. Your name always makes me laugh. Thank you for that, and I always appreciate the opportunity to connect with you deeper. Radhe, Radhe. Anthony, you ask, so is it fair to say that one can't control karma, but it sounds like one can? Karma is entirely in your control, because karma means action. Action done with intent. That intention that you do all your actions is 100% within your control. What is not in control, you are not in control of the outcome of your actions. Therefore, if we have an intention that has an expectation of a reward or some punishment, then we are giving away our control to the outcome, and then we suffer, or we get pleasured momentarily by the gratification of having our expectations fulfilled. And thank you, Mount St. Godel Organics, for your gem gun. It's very pretty. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, Usha, for your hand hearts. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Alice. You share that you're so socially drained but can't stay home and recharge. Any advice? Quite all right. See, in ancient times, we would just veil when we had to go out in public, but didn't want to be sensitive to all the energy that comes with it. How do you veil? Well, in ancient times, you'd wear a cloth over your head. That way you don't have to worry so much about your own facial expressions. People don't have to look at you. You can keep your attention anywhere and no one is going to be judging. How do we veil in modern times? We put our hood up. Or we put a hat on. Or sunglasses on. Or now with COVID, we put a mask on. It's just a modern version of veiling, so that our energies are more protected. Of course, they're always protected. We just feel like it's easier. When we put a mask on, then we don't have to mask ourselves. And it's the masking that requires energy. And thank you, Liz, for your owl. Hari Om Tat Sat. Very beautiful, as always. And Kayla, thank you for your pair of finger hearts. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Alice, you share that you feel that so much. COVID times were less tiring in that way, right? Everyone's got a mask on. We don't have to worry so much about all the funny shapes people's mouths make and all of the subtle social cues that are associated with it. Oh, for us neurodivergent, COVID restrictions are peace on earth. Hallelujah. Diana, you ask, do I think we can control our thoughts? Well, Diana, I have to point out how funny of a question that is. Do I think we can control our thoughts? Well, if I'm not the one thinking, then I can't think about an answer to this myself. But if I am the one thinking, or whatever the one thinking is, that one is of course going to say, yes, I am the one thinking. Now, that's probably just going to confuse everyone even more. We are not our thoughts. We are the witness of our thoughts, but we do direct them. Here I choose the word direct over control. We have a couple intermediaries between us as the witness and the mind as the collection of thoughts. We'll start with this, that the mind is just the collection of all thoughts. Some thoughts bubble up to the surface, other thoughts fall back down into the subconscious. We don't control the rising and the falling of thoughts. Thoughts happen. If we could control our thoughts, how easy would it be to relax? All you'd have to do is just stop thinking. A problem bothering you, just stop thinking about it. No one, and I mean no one has this ability. But we do have influence over our thoughts. What we can do is shift them through the shifting of our awareness. You can consider the mind like a generator of ideas. And that generator gets its input, its source material, from whatever your awareness is focused on. If your mind is focused on your children, or if your awareness is focused on your children, rather, then of course your mind is going to be producing thoughts. Are they fed? Did I make sure that my son didn't miss his appointment? Are they getting good grades? Are they getting nutrients? The mind is going to be generating all these thoughts around your children and your relationship to them, simply because your awareness is located there. If you bring your awareness to something else, then the mind starts generating thoughts about that. So it depends what you want in your mind. If you want peaceful thoughts, then you must bring your awareness to something you're grateful for. And the mind starts generating thoughts. I am loved, I am cared for, I am feeling relaxed in my bed at this time, my kids are under my roof, they are safe and protected. So we guide our thoughts by where our awareness is located. Bring your awareness to positive things and your mind will create positive thought. Grace, you share. You wonder why I am on this website, if I seem to seek no influence or power. You add that it's quite energetically draining to try to spread a message to a whole lot of strangers. Just seems counterintuitive is all. Will allow me to remedy your intuition. If this message was coming from me personally, then yes, it would be very draining. If I felt like it was my responsibility to deliver some message, and for all of you to take that on, then my goodness, I'd be drained within minutes. I'd be overwhelmed with all that expectation. Fortunately, all good that is done happens within you. I am not doing anything. I have no message for you that you don't already know. Consider me simply as the host of this space, and in this space, I offer you the opportunity to introspect into the basin of wisdom that you already have. Therefore, if any message is conveyed, it's through your own effort, not mine. That way, I don't get exhausted at all, because all the energy happens from within. But that's a good question. D-Money, you ask, are you wrong for not wanting your husband to talk to their ex-girlfriend who likes to cause trouble? You are right for seeing the potential in your husband. But it is not your duty to force their hand in having that potential come to be. If there is expectations on them to be a certain way, then that's something that we unnecessarily upset ourselves about. Your duty to a loved one is not to make them into a better person, but to offer them the space for them to become a better person. If you give them love, then why would there be any reason at all to be fearful of this possibility? When you are doing your best, that is enough. There need not be any insecurity over whether you are enough when you are a bountiful source of love and acceptance, and they will see that too, surely. Additionally, if they themselves see the potential in fostering that relationship, then they are also right for that. It is only in our culture that we have brung this idea that we are not allowed to be friends with previous romantic partners. I think that it is important for us, when it is necessary, to come to a kind of communication after such a close contact between souls was achieved. There is a lot of room for a friendship to blossom in the wake. It may make us uncomfortable as their current partner only because we might be comparing ourselves to them. But if we drop this comparison, then we can just allow love to flow wherever it goes. And thank you, Nikki, for your pair of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. You're welcome, Cosmic Truth. And Kat, you are wondering, what do I chant in between answers? Many things, but usually Sanskrit mantras like Radhe Radhe. That means salutations to the Divine Feminine. Salutations to the Divine Feminine. O Mother, O Mother. And thank you, J. Judy Jude, for your heartbeat too. Radhe, Radhe. For the vision, Kai, Ashtar, many names you have. You share that you adore me in all your echo infinite silence. It's a very kind sentiment. Thank you. And thank you, D-Money, for your paper crane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. User 373, you share that you understand most of the theory, but living it is so hard. You're very attached to your mind. And that's okay. Your mind serves an important purpose. Your mind is a basin of possibilities which you may act upon. Sometimes we get overwhelmed by it. We see all the possibilities in the mind, and then we start to wonder about all the contradictions. Well, if I pursue this, then I can't do that. Some thoughts seem contradictory to each other. And then we get worried about trying to unify all of the thoughts, rather than recognizing that the mind is going to be a mixed bag, a melting pot of ideas, and you don't have to give energy to each one. You pick and choose which ones of your mind you would like to participate in, and those serve as your vehicles for self-expression. Nick, you ask a set of questions about my hair. You ask, is my hair naturally curly? Well, if you're asking if I do anything to make it curly, then the answer is no. You also ask, will they make me cut my hair in India? Well, no one will make me do anything. But if through initiation into a spiritual lineage, it is symbolic as a part of ritual to cut my hair, then I think that would be something I would love to participate in. Even though I love my hair, I also appreciate the symbolism of letting it go. Now, I'm not saying that will happen. It's a possibility, one that I'm open for, but not attached to. And thank you, J. Judy Jude, for your ice cream, your whipped coffee, and a friendship necklace. Hari Om Tat Sat. Gaia, you ask, how do I welcome information? By recognizing that no information is set in stone. Nothing is as it is forever. Facts are always changing as we become more and more open to new ideas and new perspectives. So I welcome information, knowing that it's not a permanent guest. It will come and it will go. And thank you, Fen, for your heartbeat. Hari Om Tat Sat. And J. Judy Jude, thank you for your friendship necklace too. Sky Guardian, you clarify that I have to study for at least 5 years in a lineage and have my parents accept. Well, the good news then is, I guess I'll probably be keeping my hair for 5 years at least then. 9 lives, you ask. Do I work with entities? I work with all of you, and you're all entities. Thank you, 9 lives. I hope to reflect that peace and love that you send back on all of you in return. Now, why don't we read from another section of the Pocket Pema Chodron? Pema is a lovely Buddhist nun, and she has written many different works. And in this pocket edition of all her works, 108 lovely little snippets from her works has been collated. Pardon me. Let us read number 56. Opening the door to life. Pain is a result of what's called ego clinging, of wanting things to work out on our own terms, of wanting me victorious. Ego is like a room of your own, a room with a view, with the temperature and the smells and the music that you like. You want it your way. You'd just like to have a little peace. You'd like to have a little happiness, you know? Just give me a break. But the more you think that way, the more you try to get life to come out so that it will always suit you. The more you fear of other people and what's outside your room grows. Rather than becoming more relaxed, you start pulling down the shades and locking the door. When you do go out, you find the experience more and more unsettling and disagreeable. You become touchier, more fearful, more irritable than ever. The more you just try to get it your way, the less you feel at home. To begin to develop compassion for yourself and others, you have to unlock the door. You don't open it yet, because you have to work with your fear that somebody you don't like might come in. Then, as you begin to relax and befriend those feelings, you begin to open it. Sure enough, in come the music and the smells that you don't like. Sure enough, someone puts a foot in and tells you you should be a different religion, or vote for someone you don't like, or give money that you don't want to give. Now, you begin to relate with those feelings. You develop some compassion, connecting with the soft spot. You relate with what begins to happen when you're not protecting yourself so much. Then, gradually, you become more curious than afraid. To be fearless isn't really to overcome fear. It's to come to know its nature. Just open the door more and more, and at some point you'll feel capable of inviting all sentient beings as your guests. How's that? Number 56. Opening the door to life. Thank you for listening. A wonderful snippet from the pocket Pema Chodron. And I'm happy to hear that, Don Suela. And thank you, Fen, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Liz, thank you for your dancing flower. It's very cute. Jai Sitaram. Hello, Mermander. You share that you have been struggling. Your kitty of 13 years is sick. You miss all of us. 13 years is a long time for a cat. Or it can be, at least. I love kitties so much. And so bringing that news put some weight on my heart, but it's a heart that I will gladly help hold with you and support you in your journey to taking the best care of your cat during these trying times. I am sure that your cat is blessed to have someone who loves so deeply. And on behalf of your cat, the universe is blessed to have someone who loves just as purely as you do to a part of it. You are wonderful in the love that you carry for your kitty, and I am sure that your cat will continue offering you opportunities to love. But in the meantime, you are welcome to hold that emotion, that sadness. It's okay to feel that way. And in time, that emotion will be easier to process. And thank you, Iris Apparel, for your 20 roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Lena, thank you for your friendship necklace. Radhe Radhe. And good night, Astarte. You're very welcome, Armanda. Thank you for allowing us all the opportunity to consider the preciousness of lovely beings in the form of pets, such as your own. And Iris Live, thank you for your paper crane. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Spencerius, thank you for your quintet of tiny dinies. Yippee! And thank you, Rahina, for your 11 tiny tinies. Yahoo! And a hat and mustache. Thank you. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Rahina, for your baker's dozen worth of tiny tinies as well. Yum, 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 yum. It's tiny tiny time. Then you ask, Yam, how do I manifest a partner? Help. Now, this is how the universe works, okay? I'll tell you. The moment that you discover your independence, that person will come and challenge it. And that moment that you become dependent, the universe will take it away. The universe gives us what we need, not what we want. What we want is comfort and security, but what we need is independence and self-confidence. When those things arise, then we become a little overconfident. And so the universe gives us a relationship to humble us once more and show us our needs. And thank you, Imp Kitty, for your heart meat and 7 tiny tinies. Yippee! Hello, Amanda. Rahina, you share. What you want is Olive Garden. Someone is hungry. I love that idea, G to infinity. Become the partner you are looking for. I love that. Sky Guardian, you say, use Tinder and manifest a partner. This is not something I would recommend. With dating apps, you skip the friendship stage. And the friendship is the bedrock of a relationship. Where there is no friendship, there can be no romance. There's this expectation that comes with a dating app, that we are going to be dating. But then it doesn't evolve naturally. You know, if you just put yourself out there, I am sure the universe will arrange the perfect person for you. You don't have to subjugate that process entirely. Sky Guardian, you shared that 60% of relationships end in divorce. Might as well stay single and become a sannyasi. Now that's a funny advertisement. Now at the same time, as Swami Taratmananda mentioned in The Roar of the Ganges, many Swamis will not initiate you if you are trying to become a renunciant simply because you aren't finding success in the world. That all worldly life isn't working out for me, so I might as well try something different. To be a sannyasi, to be a renunciant, means that you have to renounce. Renounce what is working for you on a worldly level and come to an even higher purpose. And thank you, Mahara, for your heart me and 16 bracelets. Jai Sitaram. And Spencerius, thank you for your trio of Let 'em Cooks. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Selena. Selena Bobina. You share that every time you see me on your For You page, my eyes are always so bright and I look so happy. Thank you for observing that. Now, how do I pronounce your name? Lee Kinnear. That is my guess. If there is a more correct way of pronouncing your name, do let me know. You had asked, how old am I, if you may be so bold? In this body, 22 years. Mr. Mate, you ask, is the homeless life the most spiritual? You're getting that impression from the books you're reading. That is the famous question that Arjuna asks Krishna. He said, is it better to leave the life of a renunciant rather than a householder? And Krishna said, no. They both lead to the same place. And even then, the life of a householder is spiritually superior. Because if you can master your senses, even amidst all these opportunities for pleasure and pain, then you are an even more powerful yogi than the one who simply abstains from being in a place that they could be triggered. Simple abstinence is not enough to conquer the mind and its desires. Because you could separate yourself from your home, your family, your job, and your society, but your mind will not be separated. You will be living in a cave or under a tree, and you'll be thinking, my goodness, I could go for a chocolate cookie right now. Oh, how I miss my ex. Man, if only I got that promotion and I could get that job I always wanted and be able to buy that house. Yet, even more powerful is a person who has all that, but inwardly they are unattached. They have the job that they want, the house that they want, They are still in a relationship. They still have that chocolate cookie there on the counter. But they have renounced all these things as not true sources of pleasure. They are living a life that is so profound. They are surrounded by pleasure and yet do not partake in it. That it all could be taken away tomorrow and they would still have their happiness. Therefore, Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, renounce not the world, but your attachment to it, your expectations of favorable times and aversion from unfavorable times. Thank you, Spencerius, for your pair of tiny dinies. Yippee! And Jasmine, I just noticed that you sent a snowboard earlier, but I don't think I thanked you for it. So I thank you. If you're still here. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hello, Miss Witch Doctor. You are so glad to hear me or see me. Well, I am happy to have you here. Selena Bobina, you ask, do I find these lives provide some relief for me? Like, are they something I look forward to? They are something I look forward to. At the same time, they are very challenging. Because it's not like I am always going to be received positively. And that helps me. It helps me manage my expectations for the perception of others. And it helps me come to know where other people's boundaries are. So, sometimes it is both unrelieving, but also something I look forward to. Because it pushes me outside my comfort zone. It's like going to the gym. You could be looking forward to it, but at the same time, it's not exactly relieving to be pumping iron. Thank you, Aquarius lady. Anna, you ask, do I get frustrated when someone depreciates my knowledge because of my age? I get sad, but not for myself, for the other person. Because there is an opportunity to see each other as equal, and that's something that I am ready to collaborate with. But when that collaboration is not two-wayed, not mutual, then there's an opportunity for a mutual relationship to develop, through which we can learn from each other's experiences. And yet that opportunity is untaken. That is sad. But I allow the sadness as well. Now, I agree that the older you are, the more experienced you are. And with experience comes a lot of knowledge. And wisdom. But there is also a lot of wisdom and knowledge that younger generations have. And if we just engaged in a little more intergenerational communication without that judgment, then we could share that knowledge and wisdom from young to old or old to young. Consider, for example, how young children are the source of so much wisdom for their parents. I am sure that all of the parents here can admit to the fact that their children teach them so much. Isn't it so? And thank you, Ragnhildur, for a whole galaxy. Very beautiful. Hari Om Tat Sat. And I love to hear that, Moses. Innate wisdom. You love holding space for your son to shine his knowledge, and you all share as equals. So wonderful. Josiah, you share that children teach patience more than anything else. Very true. And I like that thought, Miss Mariah. We are not for everyone, and that is okay, because it makes the connections we do make more special. I love to hear that. And Gio Michelle, how do I pronounce your name? Is it Michelle? Or Mitchell? I'll just call you Gio. Gio, thank you for your ice cream cone, your heart me, your pair of team bracelets, and a rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Mahina, thank you for your rose. Jai Sitaram. And thank you, the raspberry, for your rose too. Goodbye, MJ. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And thank you, Gio, for another 11 ice cream cones too. Radhe Radhe. Good night, Rahina. And thank you, MJ, for your 7 balloons. Hari Om Tat Sat. Good night, Gio. And divinely chosen, thank you for your heart me. Radhe Radhe. Then you ask, have I ever dreamt of doing the live stream? I have, yes. I have a fear that I accidentally keep the camera rolling, and then I come back, and suddenly there's all these people just watching nothing. And then I go, oh no, how long have I had this thing running? And thank you, the raspberry, for another rose. And Claire, thank you for your heart me. Radhe Radhe. Jessica, you ask, how do you regain energy for life when you're so burnt out? Releasing all that is burning you out. by letting go of the need to give energy to places that don't deserve your energy. Taking care of your energy means you don't give it to those who abuse it. Just as you wouldn't water a patch of dried out soil with no seeds to grow. You'd just be making some mud. You water the soil so that you may provide the seeds that are there with the opportunity to grow. So why are we then giving our energy to places that aren't growing from it? We may try for a while and give our energy, but if we keep coming back empty-handed, that there is nothing to show for the energy that we're giving, then perhaps we are watering a desert. And it is not in Mother Nature's decision to make this soil fertile at the moment. So we should attend to where there is fertile soil. And then, in the energy we put in, we get that back, increased. And thank you, MJ, for another 14 roses. And James, thank you for your rose. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you, Claire, for your rose as well. Jai Sitaram. Lee Kinnear, you share that I am wise beyond my years. How long have I been studying, and where did I study? Wisdom is not gained from a book. No one can teach you how to be wise. Wisdom is a natural consequence of curiosity and the willingness to make mistakes. I have tried as hard as I can in this life to remain curious despite of all of the many mistakes I make every day. Every day I make some big mistakes. But I forgive myself and I allow myself to be just as curious next time. Now I know one way not to do something that limits the ways in which I should do something. And so I become more understanding of the path forward. Consider a philosophy class. In a philosophy class, you may learn from Plato, Socrates, Aristotle. And each of them had their own teachers. But at some point, when you keep asking, where did they learn from? The trail must stop. Where did the first philosopher come from? They got their philosophy from their lived experience. They had to. So too, where do new philosophers come from? New philosophies. When their perspective is different from what already exists, they look within their own experience to describe things a different way. The process of philosophy, therefore, is not in reading from the works of others, but in searching through your own experience to discover what you have to share with one another. And thank you, Anne, for your quintet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Tattvamasi, you ask, how to identify genuine inquiry within? You rephrase, how do you identify a genuine inquiry coming from within? Well, if it's an inquiry, then it is not coming from within, it is going to within. An inquiry is not an outquiry. You follow the flow of awareness from without to within. And if you feel like it is taking you more and more inwards, that is to say, you are becoming less and less worldly, then you have indeed caught that stream which takes you inward. For example, here is the litmus test for a spiritual practice. Are you becoming more and more irritable, more and more resentful? Are you seemingly acquiring just more and more stuff and things? Then there is a good chance that there is another path waiting for you that will take you beyond these things. If, on the other hand, you find that you are becoming more and more patient, more and more understanding, more and more compassionate, then there is a good chance that you are on an inner journey that is definitely taking you more and more within rather than without. And Joanna, thank you for your 14 roses a few minutes ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. And good night, Noor. Mugs, you ask, what's my best advice for healthy hair growth? You should ask my mother. When she was younger, and when I was younger, I loved her long hair. And then she cut it short, and I started wailing. Wah! She goes, what's wrong? Your hair, it's not beautiful anymore. I was very attached to her long hair. So she went out to the store. She came back. She said, do you know what this says? I didn't know how to learn to read yet. She said, this is fast hair growing shampoo. So I stopped crying. I said, really? She said, yeah, it'll grow back faster. I said, how faster? She said, 10 times faster. Wow, 10 times faster? Okay, I can wait. Now that I'm older, I think she was lying. I don't think it said that. I don't even think she went to the store. I think she just went to the bathroom and got out the shampoo that was already there. But I believed. And before long, her hair was long again. And thank you, Jody, for your 5 roses. And it's all Legos. Thank you for your tiny. Yippee! It's all Legos, you asked, Yam. You hope all is well, friend. Thank you. It is. Do I have any wisdom in regards to sloth and torpor? You feel that. What are those again? I forget. Are these two of the 7 deadly sins? Is that right? Sloth is heedlessness, laziness. It's a kind of spiritual laziness almost. Maybe you are building a cocoon. You could say that caterpillar is so lazy. It's been staying inside his cocoon for days, not going outside. A cocoon potato. You are feeling almost complacent. Yes, that caterpillar, so complacent, happily staying in the cocoon. Then, suddenly, when there's a new butterfly in town, you have to question, what were you really doing inside your cocoon? Maybe it only looked like you weren't doing much of anything, but now you have wings and you can fly. There must have been a transformation happening within, even though on the outside it didn't look like much was happening. Additionally, sometimes we confuse stability for stagnation. That's what my friend told me the other day. We're searching for stability our whole life. Suddenly, when it arrives, we feel like we're stagnant. Always wanting peace. And then when peace arrives, we think, I don't deserve this. Something must be up. Something must be brewing. And thank you, Jim Bagnola, for your rose a minute ago. Radhe, Radhe. Viri, you ask for any tips on developing bhakti. You'd like to be a better bhakta, but you're unsure how. The key to developing more emotion, or more devotion, rather, is to develop more knowledge on what you are wanting to be devoted to. Now, if suddenly on your front door is, let's say, a ring, you go, this is nice, and you put it in your jewelry box, and you keep it there. Don't think much of it. But the next day, I tell you, hey, did you get that ring that I put at your doorstep? You say, yes. I say, good. I've been meaning to give it to you. It's very precious. Now with this knowledge, you're starting to have a little bit more appreciation for that ring that suddenly arrived. So you take it to an appraiser. You're wondering, how precious is this really? The appraiser tells you this ring is probably $1,000. It has this rare gem in the side. I don't know if you can see. This gem is only found near this very special and ancient indigenous tribe in South Africa. There, they've been using these gems as tokens of their heritage and have been transitioning into the modern world based on their heirlooms, turning it into a bit of a commodity for them. Now you have all this more knowledge. My goodness! This ring is a lot more valuable. But you want a second opinion, so you bring it to an expert in this matter, now that you have a bit more knowledge who you should share it to. And this person tells you, actually, this is the long-lost ring of one of the ancestors of that tribe. This ring is more than 1,000 years old. It may be $1,000 worth of material, but in terms of history, it is now priceless. So this ring that appeared on your doorstep one day, at first you realized that it was a bit of a coincidence that you came in contact with it. Then you discovered that a friend had given it to you. Then you discovered that it was very valuable and meant a lot to some people. And then you discovered how ancient, how meaningful of a history this ring has had. Would you not be devoted to taking care of that ring? My goodness. You wouldn't even have to wear it in order to like it. You'd put it in a box, and then that box in a box, and then that box in an even bigger box. And you'd put that box in a very special place. And you'd hold your hand up to your heart every time you passed it, thinking, my goodness, I'm not even looking at what's inside the box, but just from the knowledge alone, I know that it is important. It is precious. Similarly is the knowledge of God. If you feel like you don't have devotion for that source, then you've been given nasty knowledge. Throw it out, dirty knowledge. But if I tell you that that source has sacrificed itself for your very own being, suddenly that source gains a kind of reverence to it, doesn't it? If I tell you that that source rejected its own existence so that we all could come into existence, well, now we have to pay tribute to that, in which all this has arisen from. If I tell you that the source is the beauty within the flower that you walk by, the twinkle of the eye of everyone that you love, if that source is what gets you out of bed, your very breath, and the very material energy of everything in existence, naturally we will start walking around with a little bit more reverence. Devotion precedes knowledge. The more knowledge you have about something, the more you will begin to love it. Hello to Deo. And thank you, Beat, for your heart me. Ariom Tatsat. And Lucas, thank you for your subscription again. Always happy to have you here, my friend. Jai Sitaram. Bhakti proceeds jnana. Well said. To become a bhakta, we have to become a jnani. To become a devotee, we have to become a knower. Disciple of Christ, you ask, what do I believe happens after life? Nothing? Heaven or hell? Reincarnation? You have described the same thing in 3 different ways. My answer can only be yes. Some of you don't understand. Aren't these very different options? They are definitely not the same thing. What if I told you that they are all the same afterlife, just from different perspectives? Have you seen those modern art forms in which someone carves a shape from one perspective and then turns it 90 degrees and carves a different shape? And so from one perspective it looks like a beautiful scene of a pirate ship. And then from another perspective it's the side profile of Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. And if you wanted to go further, you could turn that whole sculpture 90 degrees again in another direction and carve a third shape. And so the shadow that is cast from each orthogonal angle produced a different, unique shape. An independent shape. So it depends which angle you're looking at. Okay. But I have to show you that reincarnation and heaven and hell and nothingness are all connected. Let us start with heaven and hell and reincarnation. How are they the same? Well, what is heaven if not eternal life? That is a synonym that is used in the Bible, for example. And hell is eternal damnation. We all know that. So eternal damnation or eternal life. What is reincarnation? Well, the Sanskrit term is samsara. What does samsara mean? It means eternal life and damnation. It means the cycle of them both happening again and again. Heaven is just one side of reincarnation. Hell is the other side. And on earth we exist between them both. Since we keep coming back here, it is up to us whether we make the next life hell for ourselves or heaven. And furthermore, because the present life is the afterlife of our past life, then it's up to us now to make this moment a heaven or a hell. So that is how the duality of heaven and hell is the same as reincarnation. But what about nothingness? Nothingness stops us in our tracks, doesn't it? It puts us into nothingness. Well, that nothingness is very interesting because it's from the place that we have arisen from, isn't it? I mean, what were you before you were born? You can't say you were this or you were that. And even if you could say that, if you keep asking the question, well, where did that come from, and this and that, eventually it must come from nothing. Everything proceeds nothing. So nothingness does not preclude us from the possibility of birth, because it is what led to this birth, isn't it? Therefore, we have proof in this moment that we have come from nothing. We have proven by our own existence that nothingness can lead to a kind of somethingness, isn't it? Therefore, returning to nothing is no big deal, because we are returning to the very seed state from which we have come in this life, haven't we? So, whether you believe in reincarnation or nothingness, or in the dichotomy of heaven and hell. It is the same process. We are just viewing different parts of it. And thank you, Claire, for your team bracelet a minute ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. And that is precisely right, Zoe. I am implying that nothingness could result in reincarnation. Or, to be even more precise, nothingness implies reincarnation. Now how? Exactly. This is not something I've covered. Still leaves room for you to wonder why exactly can something come from nothing? And consider by analogy how art is best made through absence. That if you want to record a new hit song, you first must make the room very silent. And from that silence, music is inspired. Or if, for example, you want to paint a picture, you start with a canvas that is empty of any brushstrokes yet. And it is from the emptiness of the canvas are possibilities imagined. And then they come to life. You could say that nothingness inspires everything. In rabbinical Judaism, they call that the idea of tzimtzum, that the Big Bang, so to speak, can be described as a tzimtzum. What is a tzimtzum? It is a contraction. It is an emptying, a kind of space for creation to arise within. If you want to create the universe, you first have to have a place to put it, and that place must not be already filled with stuff. So the tzimtzum is the clearing out so that the universe can arise. And the Buddhists call it shunyata, says Om Tat Sat. That zero, not zero. That void. The particle physicists, they have a name for it too. They call it the vacuum genesis hypothesis, I believe, VGT. That it is from the very vacuum, that nothingness, all particles have popped into existence. That the total energy content of the universe perfectly cancels out. And so there is no energy in the universe. And thank you, Claire, for your friendship necklace, your ginger man, popcorn, a cloud bread, an ice cream cone, a tiny, yippee, and a disco love. Radhe, Radhe. And thank you, Tarek Zidan. I am not sure if your name is pronounced the way I have. If I were to make a bet, I'd probably bet that there is a more correct way to pronounce it. But I thank you for that rose you sent a minute ago. Hari Om Tat Sat. Good night, Aquarius lady. Gaia, you ask, what gender is Shiva? Shiva is half masculine, half feminine. When he is involved in the process of creation or destruction, then he is feminine. When he is immersed in the stillness of preservation, then he is masculine. Masculinity is stillness. Femininity is movement, action. And Tattvamasi, thank you for your trio of roses. Jai Sitaram. Ambrosia, you ask, how was my Mother's Day dinner? It was spicy, but good. And AJ, thank you for your quintet of fires. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shiva and Shakti sitting in a tree. Shiva is one with Shakti. There can be no Shiva without Shakti, nor Shakti without Shiva. Shiva is the feminine. Shiva is the masculine. Shakti is the feminine. But when we are just talking about them as a whole, we might just refer to them both as Shiva. And the Shakti is implied. And thank you, the link below, for offering a subscription to Jack. I hope that Jack takes on this opportunity for me to be there for you in whichever way I can. Thank you. And you ask, Shakti and Devi are the same? Yes. See, if you ever want to know if Hindu deities are the same or not, the answer is probably going to be yes. Femininity is the divine feminine. All feminine is divine feminine. Shakti, Devi, Durga, Kali, Sita, Sati, Parvati, Radha, all the same. Similarly, all masculine is divine masculine. Whether it's Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Krishna, Rama, Ganesha, Hanumanji, you name it. It is all the same. And the divine couples too, they are all the same. Shiva and Parvati, Sita and Rama, Radha and Krishna, Lakshmi and Narayan. It's one divinity. And thank you, Aunt Vicky, for your 10-finger hearts. Hari Om Tat Sat. Ryan, you ask, is Shiva held high, as in death goddess, just as to mean then a rebirth? Yes. It's a good question. When people refer to Shiva as the destroyer, we might tremble and go, oh, does that mean he is Gora? He is the fearsome. In some aspects, yes, but he is also Agora, which means beyond fear. Just as Swami Taratmananda Ji said in the reading today of Roar the Ganges, the destroyer doesn't have to mean of you, but of your own ignorance of this body so that you can come into another body, of our habits so that we can acquire new habits, of our karma. He's on your side, not working against you, I should say. Sky Guardian, you ask, shouldn't we be winding down the live? Yes, but also, it is getting late for you, and you really want to do the meditation today, don't you? With the visual that you are excited for. That much is also true, isn't it? And you don't want to miss that. And thank you, Pentalika, for your octet of ice cream cones. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay. For you and your sleep schedule, we will begin to wrap up today's live stream. But before we do, we will do two things. Because the meditation tonight is longer, it's a 20-minute one, which is the longest one we've done. No one is expected to stay for that whole thing, of course. We will skip the what's it called? The question of the day. And let me just check. Yes, our reading is also relatively short, so we'll read this next short section from Roar the Ganges. By the time the puja was complete, it was 7 o'clock, time for morning class. This would be our last class with Swami Dayananda, our guru, for a while. He would leave for New Delhi later in the day. From New Delhi, he would fly to Bombay, and then onward to his ashram center near Coimbatore. During his brief stay here in Rishikesh, he deliberately paced himself to complete the Kena Upanishad with this morning's class. After the opening prayers, Swami Dayananda summarized the enigmatic story at the end of the Upanishad, a tale about 3 gods who tried to discover the ultimate truth, the absolute reality known as Brahman. Agni, the mighty god of fire, was the first to try. He was proud and arrogant, confident that he could easily discover Brahman. But he failed in his attempt and was humbled to find that he could not even burn a blade of grass. Then Vayu, the powerful god of wind, tried. He too failed and found he was unable to blow away even a single blade of grass. Finally, Indra, the king of the gods, tried to discover the nature of Brahman. He approached goddess Uma, the daughter of the Himalayas, and asked her to teach him. It was she that led him to discover the truth of Brahman. This cryptic story shows that knowledge of Brahman cannot be acquired merely by one's will and effort. An adequate means of knowledge, a pramana, is required. In this story, goddess Uma represents the teachings of Vedanta, the teachings which lead one to discover the ultimate truth. Swami Dayananda explained, Brahman is the reality underlying all that exists. It is the truth of every individual, the truth of the entire world. and the truth even of Ishvara, God. Whereas everything else enjoys existence, Brahman is existence as such. To discover Brahman as the truth of yourself is the goal of Vedanta. This is the ultimate message of the ancient sages who expressed it in the great dictum, Tat Tvam Asi. You are that, or that thou art. Swami Dayananda continued. Once after giving a public lecture in which I said that Brahman is absolute truth, a man approached me as I was leaving the hall. He introduced himself as a professor of mathematics at the local university. Given his background in mathematical theory, he felt obligated to inform me that there can be no such thing as absolute truth. All truths are relative, he explained. They are defined in a particular context and can be negated in another context. Therefore, every definition of truth is subject to negation. I told the professor that Vedanta has a totally adequate definition of absolute truth. He was not convinced. So he proposed that if I gave him a satisfying definition, he would promise to attend each of my remaining lectures there. So, I explained in this way. Absolute truth is that which can never be negated, not in the past, present, or future. He looked surprised. He admitted that this definition was quite sound, but asked if such an absolute truth really exists. I said he will get the answer if he comes to the rest of my lectures as promised. Swami Dayananda then addressed us directly. And that is my message for you as well. Keep listening to these teachings. Keep the flame of inquiry burning brightly. The search for truth requires Shravana, hearing, Manana, debating, and Nididhyasana, supplementary teachings to engage it in a practical way in your life. Oh, he's going to translate these for me. Shravana means listening to the teachings of Vedanta and using them to guide your journey of self-inquiry. Self-inquiry is essential, but it will be fruitless if it is not properly directed. Vedanta guides the way. Next comes Manana, the process of resolving doubts. In your journey of self-inquiry, it is only natural that doubts arise. These doubts must not be ignored, they must be fully addressed. And to address them, we make use of proper reasoning. Vedanta makes considerable use of logic. Yet, as we saw earlier, self-knowledge cannot be gained through logic. Enlightenment is a matter of personal discovery, not logical proof. Such proofs are useless. Anything proved by logic is subject to being disproved by another logic. The role of logic in Vedanta is not to prove anything. It is only to remove doubts. Doubts arise when inadequate understanding and faulty reasoning leads you to become mired in inconsistencies and paradoxes. Manana helps extricate you from such confusion by forcing you to logically re-examine your thinking and discover where your misunderstandings lie. In this way, doubts born of improper logic are dismissed by proper logic. The commentaries explain this with an analogy. Suppose you meet a robber on a deserted road who threatens you with a large stick. Instead of running, you could seize his stick and beat him with his own weapon. That is how Vedanta uses logic, by wresting the stick of logic from our own doubts and using it to defeat them. Finally, we come to nididhyasana, contemplation. Contemplation is the process of assimilating what you have already learned, thereby making the vision of the sages your own worldview. Insights remain vague when your understanding is not firm or well ascertained. Contemplation is the process of reflecting on what you have already discovered. In this practice, you see the truth again and again to make your knowledge vivid and clear. Such clarity comes gradually, like an old Polaroid photograph. When a self-developing photo first comes out of the camera, it is blank. You can't see anything at all. Then an image slowly begins to appear, developing as you watch. After a few minutes, you see a clear image. Contemplation works like that, gradually bringing increased clarity to your vision of reality. So, you must continue your self-inquiry, continue to address your doubts, and continue to contemplate upon all you have understood. Also, you must not neglect areas in which you still find yourself troubled by attachment, anger, or hurt. These indicate the need for more emotional growth. Your ongoing meditation, prayer, karma yoga, and other practices will help you overcome these problems and achieve your goal. Swami Dayananda closed this last class with a Vedic hymn, which translates to, "That Ishvara is infinite. This world is infinite. From that infinity, this infinity came forth. After this infinity came from that infinity, infinity alone remains. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti." And with that, we'll pause our reading there. And next time we'll begin another chapter, Surfing the Infinite Ocean. There seems to be only a few chapters left, so I am sure that the fruit from all our hard work will soon emerge after reading all these many chapters. So, without further ado, we'll be ending our final segment of today, or we'll be beginning the final segment and ending our session today with it. As many of you know, I like to end my live streams with a chanting / meditation / kirtana session. We are going to be doing a 20-minute meditation today. I understand that if you are like most people here, just browsing at TikTok Live, it's probably not a commitment that you want to engage in. So I certainly won't be offended if you don't stay for the whole thing, if at all. But those who are interested, it'll be a very wonderful meditation for us. We will be listening to some Vedic hymns on the Purusha Suktam, a meditation on the cosmic being. And I'm just going to prepare it for us in a moment. This one will be especially interesting because I'll have a video playing on screen. But before we engage in that, allow me to send my best wishes to Joanna, who sent not one, not 2, 3, nor 4 roses, but 14, no, 12 roses. If my math is correct. Thank you a few minutes ago as we read Radhe Radhe. And Claire, thank you for your finger heart, your ice cream cone, your rosa, a whipped coffee, a tiny Yahoo! And 10 roses. And thank you for that observation, G2 Infinity. I do try to make the live stream as visually as appealing as possible. But yes, we will now be doing a listening to the Purusha Suktam, some Vedic meditations on the cosmic being Purusha. I am probably just going to listen, but if you want to try to chant along, you're more than welcome to. But Vedic intonation is very challenging, so don't put too much pressure on yourself. Now I'm going to be minimizing the music that we've been listening to thus far, so that I can now maximize the video's audio. And let me maximize the video itself, which is right here. Here, it should show over my face. And I believe that's in a reasonable spot for it. Let me just check for you. Yes, maybe it could be a little higher. I see, so that the chat isn't in the way. Put it up here. There. Now you can see my eyes too. And it is literally just a video I have. So I will be pressing play now.
Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha, 1,000 heads the Lord does have. Sahasraksha Sahasrapatha, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 feet. Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva, completely he pervades the world. Atyatishtat Dashangulam, and yet beyond it he extends. Purusha he Vedagam Sarvam. All this indeed is but the Lord. Yat Bhutan Yatcha Bhavyam. All that once was and what will be. Utamritatvasya, the Lord of immortality. Yadanenatirohati, transcends this realm of earthly forms. Etavanasya mahima, such is the greatness of the Lord. Ato Jayagascha Purushaha, yet he surpasses even this. Parohosya Vishwa Bhutani, one part of him became the world. Tripadasya Divi, while 3 more parts remained beyond. transcendent is the boundless Lord. Parohos yeha bhavat punaha. From part of him the world arose. Tato vishwang vyakramata. Then he pervaded everything. Sashanana shane hapi. All creatures and all things inert. Tasmahat virada jayata. The cosmos came forth from the Lord. Virajo ati purushaha. Who then presided over it. Sajato hatyarachyata. The Lord's creation grew diverse. Paschat bhumimato puraha. And his existence filled the world. Yat Purushena Havishaha. The gods conceived a mental rite. Deva Yajnamatanvata. In which they offered up the Lord. Vasanto Hasya Sidajyam. Spring, fall, and summer signified. Grishma Hitma Sharad Dhavihi. Oblations and their fires fuel. Saptasya Sanparitayaha. Envisioning 3 fires prepared. Trisapta Samida Kritaha. With 7 sticks of sacred wood. Deva Yajnantanvanaha. The gods symbolically performed. Abadhan Purusham Pashum. A rite of offering the Lord. Thayajnam Barhishi Praukshana. Anointing him the foremost Lord. Purushan Chatamakrataha. Thus they prepared their offering. Tena Deva Ayajanta. Then with the sages and the saints. Sadhyarashayaschaye. The gods did sacrifice the Lord. Tasmahat yajnat sarvahutaha. Arising from that sacred rite. Sampratam prashadatyam. When everything had been consumed. Pashugasthagaschakreva yavyana. Came butter, curds, and animals. Aranyan gram yashchaye. Of sky and forest and the farm. Tasmahat yajnat sarvahutaha. Emerging from that sacrifice. Rajasamani jagnire. In which they offered up the Lord. Chandagam si jagnire tasmahata. Came Vedic mantras, sacred hymns. Yajusta smada jayata. From Sama, Yajur, and the Rig. Tasmadashwaha Jayanta, and from that sacrifice were born Ye Ketro Bhayatataha, fine horses with 2 rows of teeth. Gavo Hajagnire Tasmahata, then cows and goats and lambs as well. Tasmahajataha Javayaha, all sprung forth from that blessed rite. Yat Purusham Vyadaduhu, how did the Lord create the world? Katitavya Kalpayan, how did the gods envision it? Mukankimasya Kaubahu, what came forth from the Lord's own mouth? Kavuru Paravuchyete, what from his arms, his legs and feet? Brahmanohosya Mukamasita, the Brahmin priests came from his mouth. Bahurajan Yakritaha, and from his arms came mighty kings. Urutarasya Yadvaishyaha, the merchant sprang forth from his legs. Padpyagam Shudro Hajayata, and from his feet the laborers. Chandrama Manaso Chataha, the moon proceeded from his mind. Chaksho Suryo Hajayata, and from his eyes the sun arose. Mukharindrashchagnischa, the winds descended from his breath. Pranadvayurajayata, his mouth emitted burning fire. Nabhyahasidantarikshan, out from his navel space emerged. Shirshno Dyau Samavartata, and from his head the heavens rose. Padpyam Bhumirdisha Shrotrahata, the earth was fashioned from his feet. Tatalodkagam Hakalpayan, thus all the worlds were manifest. Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam, as such I saw the Lord Supreme. Aditya Varnan Tamasastupare, like sunlight blazing through the dark. Sarvani Rupani Vichitya Tiraha, the wise discerned his countless forms. Namani Kritva Bhivadana Yadaste, which they invoked with many names. Dhata Purastad Yamuda Jahara, this wisdom did the Lord impart. Shakraf Pravidwan Pradishashchatasraha, unto all quarters long ago. tamevam vidvanamrita iha bhavati. One knowing him is freed from death. Nanyaf pantha ayanaya vidyate. No other path can reach this goal. Yajnena yajnamaya janta devaha. Thus through the gods' great sacrifice, Tani dharmani pratamanyasan. The Lord created everything. Tehanakam mahimana sachante. All those who gain this highest truth, yatra purve sadhya santi devaha, attain the realm of gods and saints. Adhyasambhutav prithivyairasahacha. From water, earth, and elements, Vishwakarmanas samavartatati. The world was fashioned by the Lord. Tasya tvashta vidatathrupameti. Then he assumed the sun's own form. Tat purushasya vishwamajanamagrehe. Illumining the universe. Vedahametam purusham mahantam. As such I saw the Lord Supreme, Aditya Varnantamasaf Parastata, like sunlight blazing through the dark. Tamevam vidwan hamrita iha bhavati. One knowing him is freed from death. Nanyaf pantha vidyate yanaya. No other path can reach this goal. Prajapatischarati garbhe antaha. The Lord abides in every heart. Achayamano bahudha vijayate. Unborn yet giving birth to all. Tasya dhirah parijananti yonim. The sages know him as the source. Marichinam paramichanti vetasaha. And gods aspire to reach their state. Yo devebhyaha tapati. The Lord shines bright upon the gods. Yo devanaham purohitaha. Their master teaching everyone. Purvo yo devebhyo chataha. Existing first before them all. Namo ruchaya brahmaye. All salutations to the Lord. Rucham brahman janayantaha. This sacred knowledge of the Lord. Devaha Gretadapruvan. The gods declared so long ago. Yastvavam brahmano vidyat. The one who knows the Lord as such. Tasya Devaha Sanvashe excels those very gods indeed. Hrishchate Lakshmishcha Patnyau, the goddesses, Lord, are thy wives. Ahoratre Parshve, the day and night both are thy sides. Nakshatrani Rupam, the sparkling stars above thy form. Ashwinau Vyatam, the earth and sky, thy mouth so vast. Ishtam Manishana, please grant me all that I desire. Amum Manishana, and help me reach life's highest goal. Sarvam Manishana, fulfill the purpose of my life. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bestow your peace upon us all.
Thank you for listening, everyone. That was very, very ancient text in Vedic Sanskrit, even with Vedic intonation. Something that I am definitely not qualified to pronounce myself, not after many, many years of study, that is. Probably at least 5,000 years old, maybe even closer to 8,000. Who knows for certain how old Vedic mantras are? They are timeless. They are priceless. Wonderful. And I thank you, Swami Taratmanandaji, the chanter who was reciting them. And thank you to Sky Guardian for sending that to me, and as Swamiji's devotee, indirectly giving us permission to listen into your guru and all the wisdom he has to share. Thank you. And with that, we will be ending tonight's session shortly. Probably from time immemorial. I agree, Gregorji. And what is it called? Asks Nanitom asks. It is the Purusha Suktam, which literally means, I gather, a scripture on Purusha, the cosmic person. And thank you to those who sent a gift whilst we were doing the chanting as well. John, for your pair of roses. Radhe, Radhe. And Kelsey Ann, thank you for your subscription. You know I am happy to have you here always. And even more elated by the fact that you now get to use the stickers. And that reminds me, I still need to make a tiny dino sticker for It's Sarah Lynn, who has been asking for one. Saying out loud so I really remember this time. And thank you, Tattvamasi, for your trio of roses. And I'm glad you liked your shout out from Swamiji during our reading today. And thank you, Mahina, for your rose too. Jai Sitaram. As always, I will be uploading this live stream to my Yamsox Lives YouTube channel. additionally, there we've been doing a bunch of other stuff. It's originally was a place for me to just upload the recordings of these lives, but I've discovered that there's a lot more we can do with it. Like Sky Guardian has volunteered to clip out the readings and the chantings, which now have their own dedicated playlists. And it also serves as a repository for many of the interviews that I've been on live. So that's a fun little playlist as well for you. And I try to make the video titles, thumbnails, descriptions as interesting as possible so you can really get the most out of them. As many of you know, I've written a program that takes a video, extracts the audio from it, partitions it up based on natural pauses in speech, and then turns that into sound files that are sent to a server that transcribes them with artificial intelligence. And then I get those transcriptions back and I feed that to another program that then detects themes of the video, chapters that accordingly, and then we send that chapter system to another program that then infers upon it a suitable title and summary and hashtags and all that good stuff. So I love programming, and I try to make all of these videos as interesting as possible through the use of modern technology, bridging ancient wisdom to modern technological knowledge, which is fun. And so much editing that can be done automatically now. But yet so much time I still spend on the program itself. But that's more interesting for me. Besides that, there's also my Yamsox ASMR YouTube channel, where we've been reading through the Bhagavad Gita ASMR style, which is a scripture we reference often. We're now up to the 7th chapter, the time of recording, the 8th chapter soon to come out. And we've been doing other stuff there too, but, I'll advertise that tomorrow or something. Also on my microphone is a pair of Yamsox. I don't know if you saw, as I'm sure many of you are already tired of hearing me advertise this, but the Yamsox or the Tiny Toque, these are also things that are available in the link tree in my bio. It's a goofy little thing that I sell, mainly for the purpose of giving you something in return for your support, because I know a lot of you do have the inclination to support me, which, although is never expected nor necessary, is something that really benefits my life right now, and I would like you to have something in return, physically, if that is something that you want. Otherwise, no pressure, of course. Right now I'm saving up for a trip to India. It is the only thing really in my life that is costing me money, besides food and toothpaste, of course. But once I get my plane ticket there, I am free as a bird. I will go and do whatever I need to do to get what I need to survive there. And that is made possible through all of you. So thank you. And thank you, Kills, for your heart me too. Radhe Radhe. And with that, I offer this live stream like a lotus petal. No, better yet, like a leaf from the tulasi plant at the feet of Radha and Sri Krishna, who are personified here as the divine masculine and divine feminine, dancing, having a nice sing-song with Krishna's flute. There's a lovely cow in the background, and a peacock who is blending into the void. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. I think I'm fighting the hiccups while I was reciting that. May you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment. Thank you all for being here, and goodbye. See you next time.